Tony O'Neill channel, plenty to discuss in today's video, including Dan Ashworth's first interview, since joining Manchester United. You can tell how excited I am to get through that in today's video. Plus, we're going to go into some transfer news later on, so stay with us and get involved in the chat, because we will try and discuss some of your comments throughout today's video. Now, first of all, I've took a few snippets out of the interview for us all to discuss today, and the first bit was about Erik Ten Hag. Now, he did state in the snippet that our first big decision of the summer was to extend Ten Hag's contract as the men's first team manager, reflecting our strong belief in him as one of Europe's top coaches. Now, your thought on that one?
Well, I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed the interview. The first one he gave, I think what it is, I think there's a few wounds being licked about the first big decision over Erik Ten Hag extending his contract. We all know it was played out there in the public. I think when Dan Ashworth looks at it, he knows it wasn't done in the right way. But at the end of the day, they got to the right decision, and that was extending his contract. He's happy with that. Everyone's happy with that. We want to continue with Erik. We believe in Erik. These are all the right words. So as an interview, I thought it was good. He stuck in there as well about an exciting vision. Well, when you look at that, everyone's on the right page there. We've not had an exciting vision. There has been no vision under Glazer over the last decade. Each manager what's coming has been looking at 18 months, 2 years, and not further. The planning in this club has been bad. So when he talks about exciting vision, everyone is looking at the future and the long term, and that's what you want. That's how it used to be under David Gill. It was a 10-year plan, 5-year plan. That's how they used to do it. So the exciting vision is there. And at the end of the day, you have to be excited, because over the last 6 or 7 months, since they've come in, obviously we all know Dan Ashworth's been working behind the scenes like a cheeky chap. But then again, that's what the world's about, being cheeky. And when you look at it, they have been planning for the future. He's excited at the project, what he's got. So really, really excellent first interview by Dan Ashworth. But I look at it, I've got to say this.
Please do.
Dan Ashworth is going to be doing the talking. That's how I see it. Whereas Ten Hag's been forced to come out and make statements. So I think the way he's come out with this, he's the one who's going to be out there laying the law down when it needs, because we all know that at times Manchester United has been like Statement FC. So it looks like it won't be Ten Hag anymore, right? Which is good. He can get on with his job. And this is probably part of the vision. He will take a role up front, which is good.
Yeah, no more Statement FC. It's getting business done, FC.
Yeah.
Paul O'Brien, thanks for joining us and joining our members club.
Thank you.
He did also say in that snippet that himself, Barada and Wilcox have lost no time in getting work done and getting started. And do you get that sense as well with what you've been seeing over the last few weeks?
Well, not just the last few weeks, the last few months. I think the work they've done is way, way beyond it definitely is. It's way beyond what I expected. We're in a position here now, and they are getting things done. You can look at the transfers, for instance. You can look at the turnover of personnel inside the club. They are working, and they've got a vision. That's what he said. And it's all mapped out. Everyone knows. So for me, I think the work they've done, I've got to give them 10 out of 10. I was giving them 8 out of 10 the other week. But coming out with this statement, it's good to see. It's refreshing. Something positive going into the pre-season tour in America. Positive going into the season. I just give it 10 out of 10 at the moment. I just hope that they don't get derailed. But hey, that's what happens in life. You get derailed, and what you're supposed to do is dust yourself down, get back on your feet, and jump straight back in. And I think these will.
Yeah, even though he was, he grew up in Norfolk. His mum and dad were born in Middleton, and the grandparents also lived there throughout all their lives. And he did visit Manchester United as a fan as well with his dad back in the 70s. I'm sure you remember that time.
Yeah, I do remember the 70s. But when he's talking about his past and like where he's come from and all that, I think he's trying to cling to a little bit of I've got a bit of Mancunian in me and all that, right? It's just waffle, right? Look, he'd been better off not saying it, to be honest, because he just seems as though he's clinging on to something and trying to please us. He doesn't have to please us. What he has to do is get on with the job, which he is doing, right, and make Manchester United a success. That's all we're asking for him. I couldn't care less if he come from Timbuktu.
Yeah, as long as he gets the job done.
Get the job done.
Yeah, talking of jobs and his actual job role, he did later on say, it's my job together with Jason Wilcox to create the right support structures and environment around Erik ten Hag, the staff and the players to make that possible. So he's clearly set out his job role.
Yes, he's clearly set out his job role. What he wants to do, he wants to pull everyone together. And he wants people to perform to their potential. He can highlight and look at people's potential, bring them in, and he can also highlight those who aren't doing it. And you can see what's happened over the last few months. They've highlighted the people what aren't pulling together. I've said it many, many times on this channel, not just this year, over the last couple of years. People inside that club have always been looking after themselves and that. So there was never any potential. It was all about, I'm all right, Jack, forget anyone else. But he's talking about how people are pulling together for the benefit of Manchester United and the success. And they've seen it. We've heard Sir David Brailsford, when he first came in, he went round the club looking at what really was going on here. And at the end of the day, some people thought it was funny when they highlighted how dirty the floor was, or this was wrong, or the curtains are the wrong colour, the food's not right. Okay.
The food wasn't right though, was it?
No, the food wasn't right.
The hygiene rating was a joke.
The food wasn't right. But that told you people weren't pulling together. And it seems now that people are pulling together because they've got a vision and it's been written down and it's been spoken about.
Yeah, he did actually say at the bottom of that there's a strong energy and determination around the group, especially freshening up the coaching staff, etc. And the players are looking forward to returning back to the group.
Yeah, I think when you talk about energy in that amongst the group, the players and the staff and everything else like that, it's not just there. I've looked around me and I've listened to opposition fans and all that. The energy's there. They can see what United are doing. They're building something. They're coming back. They're on the start. They're on the bottom rung of that ladder, ready to come back, and they're building up to it. They can see potential, and they can see that United are getting it together with a vision and with something, a 10-year plan or something in mind. They are worried, which makes me happy, to be honest with you, and it should make everyone else happy, because what it is now, we'll get back to the we hate Man United, and that's what we love.
Yeah, we actually do really love it.
We love it.
Yeah, it's kind of got lost a little bit over the last, let's say, 10 years or so.
Pity has been out there.
Yeah, and that's what we don't want. We want to be hated.
Yeah, hated. Adored,
never ignored.
That's right, hated, adored, never ignored. I think what it is when you look at opposition fans about what's gone on, they've treated us as a joke. And they've been quite happy to see the demise because of what we've achieved over the years. We've just dominated the Premier League over a period of time. Last 10 years has been poor, but what it is, they're frightened to death because they know the potential, the size of Manchester United and what it is with its global reach is going to get back there with the vision, what's been outlined, especially by Dan Ashworth.
Yeah, Aldi also said about talking about the youth development, etc. This remains one of the biggest football clubs in the world, but that is not our measure of success. The focus is on getting back to being among the best on the pitch. Now, that's a big task in hand. So Jim Ratcliffe back in February mentioned that he thinks we can start challenging again in, let's say, 3 years' time.
Yeah, I think what it is, I think he's also sort of saying, right, hold your horses as well. You know what I mean? Rome wasn't built in a day. I think he's talking about the scale of Manchester United and how big the task is. But it's the impression and the opportunity, what's out there. And also, when he talks about the scale, he's on about worldwide as well. Because United... But if you remember, Barada has worked with other clubs and he's built in other feeder clubs and that's the way they're going. He is up for the challenge at the scale of the opportunity, what's out there. Massive, massive club. And I still think when he walked in here, I don't think he realised how big it is. And I don't think anyone does. So it is a massive opportunity for Dan Ashworth to turn this round. And with the people what's coming, it's just a massive club. Hard to do. But I go back to when I was talking earlier on. What they've done so far, so quick, is beyond my expectations. So if they carry on in that vein, the global reach, the global work, what they're going to do, let's see. It's going to look very, very exciting.
Obviously, you mentioned earlier on about the first priority is getting Erik ten Hag signed back up, as he sees him one of the best coaches in the world. But what do you think was the immediate one after that? Because of the shortcomings that we have seen, not just last season, but over the years? Is it just a case of getting better players in and then everything will be hunky-dory, so to speak? Or was there a lot more to do in your eyes?
No, I think what it is, when you look at it, yes, that was the big thing, getting Erik ten Hag, didn't do it in the right way, but, we'll forgive him. I think what it is, it's the strategy, the plan, the layout, especially with the approach to transfers, how they're doing it, completely different than what we've seen under Richard Arnold and everyone else previously. It was just a scattergun approach, didn't really know what they were doing. They were jumping in with 2 feet and didn't even understand that they were being had over, quite happy to hand the money over. No, there's a strategy, and I think that's what was needed here. They needed to say, right, stop what you're doing. We need to change everything, and that's what they've done. So having a strategy and having a plan, I think that's the second best thing.
Yeah, with a strategy and a plan as well, a football style on the pitch, they then clearly see Erik ten Hag as the best man to execute their vision, then, don't they, on the pitch?
Yeah, he talks about him being like one of the best coaches in Europe. I mean, lots of people, even United fans, some will agree, some will disagree. Yeah. That is one of the top coaches in Europe. But the good thing is, he's got everything next to him now to improve what's gone on in the last 2 years. Because it's not been great in the league last year, we know that. Okay, we just hope that it's a dip. And with everything there now, he can go on to prove. And Erik ten Hag, listening to them words, really should be buoyed by it. He should be happy to hear them words and that they're backing him and that there's a plan and a strategy in place. Whose
idea do you think it was? Do you think it was Erik ten Hag pushing this? Or do you think it was like Jason Wilcox and Dan Ashworth in getting new coaches behind the scenes and freshening that up with Hake, Nistelrooy, and bringing in a new goalkeeper coach in as well?
I think Ineos, I've spoken with Erik ten Hag about it, but I think what it is, I think it's Ineos, the people, what have come in. I think they've gone around and looked at everything.
In the review?
Throughout the season, as soon as they come in, I think they've looked at everything. They've assessed it, and then they've made the changes, or they put the plan to the changes, and then brought Erik in on the conversation. Because sometimes when you're inside something or you're looking for something for change and everything else like that, normally it's staring you in the face and you can't see it because you're there in the moment. So with them coming from the outside, coming in and then just looking at everything and assessing it all, I think that was the best thing to do. A proper clear out of the deadwood management, that was the first thing, and then just assess what's needed. And I think they brought Erik ten Hag in to the conversation about the discussion about coaches, freshen it up, we need this, we need that. And I think Erik ten Hag's not just gone along with it, I think he's embraced it. And that's what you want from your manager and your management team. You want to embrace what's going on and the ideas.
He does seem to have a clear vision and a determination, Ashworth, as well, for this to be a success. In what I've been reading.
Listen, when you look at Dan Ashworth, everyone who's come in, they all want to succeed. That's why they've been brought in. There's no second chances here. You're brought in, right, to have success. That's what they want. They know it won't run smoothly. They know they won't achieve it straight away. But if you aren't doing your job, and that includes Dan Ashworth, if he goes off the rail anywhere, okay, and messes it up, there will be questions and possibility replacements. Ineos won't hesitate to remove people, and that goes with Erik ten Hag as well. If he's not producing it on the pitch, then there's something wrong.
Yeah, it's results that obviously matter on the pitch, but do you think he's got more pressure on his job role in getting this club club back to where the fans want it to be, though, Ashworth?
I think the pressure on Erik ten Hag this year is he has to challenge. He has to be seen to be challenging, and he has to produce football on the pitch where we're excited and we can get up there and back the team instead of sitting there and just watching a dull 2-0 victory like we did against Everton. We scored 2 goals and they were the dominant side. That's not what Manchester United is about. So he has to turn it round on the pitch with the style and with the results. He has to get better and everything's there for him to succeed.
Yeah, just going on to Ten Hag as well, there was a piece in The Athletic this morning and it said that United manager Erik ten Hag wants to continue adding to his squad as quickly as possible, and that was according to The Athletic. But let's face it, I think every football fan wants that, so he should be no different as manager.
No, Erik ten Hag's just coming out with words there. We all know every manager wants players, but the thing in that conversation is, I want them quick. We never used to get them quick. We seem to have done well at the moment. There's still a few more to be brought in. So hopefully over the next 10 days, we can get the players in and get them into this squad, get them fit, get them used to it and get them ready for the start of the season. It's getting them in and not waiting till the last week of the season. We need to know that there's a squad there and they all know each other and they all know what they have to do.
Obviously, in the modern world now, you're only ever as good as your previous season as a player. And I think the transfer fees actually reflect that as well when they're trying to, well, clubs are trying to bid for players. But how long do you give the players here if they're not performing? Do you give them just the one season? Do you give them a couple of seasons to see if they can turn the previous season's form around? How do you see that? Because obviously there's big pressure on every single person now at this football club to pull together and get back to where we want to be. Well,
how do we see it? I look at it from a schoolboy's point of view. If you're in class, the teacher's there, she's teaching you, and you're just not doing it, then she'd get rid of you. That's what get out. You're disrupting my class. Yeah. It's not working. I'm wasting my time with you because you're not putting the effort in, right, to understand what I'm saying and writing it down proper. So at the end of the day, that's what it is. And some of these people inside here are behaving like kids and have behaved like kids in the past, thinking they can just waltz around and do what they want. Ineos will not stand for it. And I think one season is maximum for somebody now. And I look at Anthony. Anthony's had his season last year, but Ineos are in now. And I think this season, it's do or die for him. I think he will be given the chance to turn it round, and quite rightly so. Okay, you can't just discard players because they have a bad time. And there might be many, many things involved with Anthony of why, at the end of the day, he needs to produce more on and off the pitch. But Ineos, I believe, and quite rightly, are going to take no messing here. Yeah. You don't perform, okay, you're out. There's plenty of people in management coaching now inside there who aren't going to take what was taken by the previous regime, okay? People were looking after themselves and didn't want to spoil what was going on, so they kept their heads down and didn't stick their head above the parapet, right? And stick players in, stick coaches in for not doing the job. Changing here now. One season, you ain't performing, then you're just not good enough. And quite rightly, bang, on your way.
Oh, they should at least then promote someone else from maybe the youth team, or look for other players out there to then take their position and challenge. And if they're still not performing in the second season, well, you're sitting it out on the bench, and then it's up to you whether you want to put the effort in, the work, the time to try and reclaim that number one spot.
I think what you have to do when you sign a player, okay, there is many things what can go wrong and why a player doesn't play to his potential when you've bought him. Yeah. We've seen it over the years with great players. They don't start off well because of certain things. They're not used. The wife's nagging them. The wife's nagging them at home. They don't like where they're living. Yeah. Okay, they don't like the food and things like that. It can affect you. Okay, so many players who have signed for Manchester United or any other football club, to be honest with you, right? Sometimes it doesn't work in that first year. There has to be a settling in period, and sometimes we have to accept it doesn't work in the first year. But then by the second year, it should work, and if it doesn't work, then you're out. And that's why I'm saying Anthony here now, right, is on a knife edge on what he does on and off the pitch. I'm just using him as an example, okay, of how strict Ineos will be. They will not hang about like Manchester United did before, keeping players who they're not even playing on 5-year contracts. That is never going to happen here again.
Yeah, you've got Ahmad. A lot of people are saying he should be given the start when the season comes on that right-hand side ahead of Antonin and the likes. But he's only got 1 year left on his contract. He has got a 1-year option to extend as well from the club. So do you think he'll be given a new contract next year, or do you think they'll actually look at that at the end of the season, Ineos?
I didn't think Ahmad was going to make it because his contract was running down. He'd been here long enough and he'd not been given the chances. And several months ago, I changed my opinion on him, okay, because you could see something and he was being given the chances. So his contract there, I think there will be negotiations. I think it's very, very important for Ahmad, right, going over to America and performing at the start of the season. And I think Erik ten Hag will give him the chance, because when you look at Ahmad, especially against Glasgow Rangers, right, Ahmad wants it. He's saying, I'm here to stay. I'm fighting for this position. Now, someone get me out. Now, you've got to look round and sort of say, well, who can get him out? Okay, Ahmad's putting a marker down, and I think they're going to look at him. I think they were looking at him last year to try and put him in the shop window and get him out and get some money for him. But I think United themselves have changed their mind. They're looking at it this summer, and I think talks will go. And I think we will see sooner rather than later talks about him, because the potential is there.
I think it'd still be premature though to offer him a contract within the next 6 months. Let's give him a full season here at United, injury free, and let's see how he performs, and look at it maybe towards the end of the season, at the earliest for me.
It could go both ways.
Let's trigger the 1 year option to extend as well.
I think you might be right, but it could go the other way. I think if Ahmad does what we're all expecting, because he is exciting. The last 6 months of Ahmad has been a different seeing him in a Man United.
Gives you something different than the others as well.
It gives you something different. It gives you exciting. He's got the control of the ball at his feet. He's running at players and not losing the ball. Yes, there's still a little bit to learn. Like everyone's always got a little bit to learn. But I think what they see, I think they might just put that extend his contract a little bit quicker than most people think. But hey, it's all about opinions. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, some news I've seen on Bissaka as well from Florian Plettenberg. United are willing to consider bids as low as £10 million for Bissaka this summer. What are your thoughts on that? Because it's going to take you a lot more than £10 million to replace him.
I think he's well worth more than a £20 million player, £10 million player, without a shadow of a doubt. I think what you have to do is look at what's going to happen today. There's a 25-man announcement today about the squad going over to America. I think that's at some point today, maybe tea time. If he's in that squad, that'll tell you what's happening with Wan-Bissaka, if there's any serious bids out there. But when you talk about 10 million, that's nowhere near enough for a player of his quality. He's one of the best one-on-one tacklers you'll see, and I think he's very good with good people around him. I think
contract does end though at the end of next season.
I know that.
Do you think it's more the club?
I know that. I think the club. I think it's more him what wants to go.
Yeah.
I think it's more him, but I might be wrong on that. But you just look at it there. I mean, they fly out tomorrow afternoon. And really, when you look at Wan-Bissaka and then you look at other players as well, it's who's flying out there tomorrow, who's in that squad, what gets announced today. And I think once we see them details of the squad going to America, you might see an acceleration of people like Wan-Bissaka if he doesn't go out there being talked about and being moved on with several other players.
You've also got Victor Lindelof and Hannibal. There might be one or two others apart from them three, but their contracts also run out at the end of the season as well. So if they're not going to offer him new contracts, wouldn't you leave them here at home and say to them, the agents, go and look for other clubs?
I think Hannibal has to go to pre-season in America. Whether Lindelof goes or not, I'm not too sure. I've not really heard too much news about him. Yes, there's talk about him being sold. I think with Hannibal as well, I think this is his last chance saloon. Whether he's got an extended, you can give him an option to extend at the end of his 1 year left, I'm not too sure. No. So at the end of the day, he needs talking to. But United, I think, were already looking at pushing him away, but I think they're giving him one more chance. But hey, that's my opinion.
Yeah, we was talking about youth before, especially with what Dan Ashworth was saying. There's been a bit of news on Webby Martin. I know you were discussing him yesterday while I was having a bit of a chat. And what's your thoughts on this? Obviously, they're looking for, getting some youth in as well and produce the potential.
What I look at here is the panic in other people because he's gone to Man United. That is an exciting prospect. It's how they talk about him. I don't know the kid, okay, but it's the talk that is a really exciting player, that is going to progress, that is going to be like one of the best players. So at the end of the day, I look at the reaction to him leaving Arsenal, okay, coming to United as a young lad, as though like suddenly he's going to make the first team. So at the end of the day, what we want is to give kids a chance. And this kid walked to United. He come to United.
The thing is, though, with these young kids, you've always got to be careful, especially around that 16 years old mark. Charlie McNeil. Remember the big four around him? How many goals? Scored an absolute hatful of goals over at City, in the youth development. Yeah. And he come here to Manchester United. It didn't quite work for him. I think he's gone out. Well, he left on a free. I think he's at Sheffield Wednesday now. So there's always like a big hype around players that age, but you've got to give him at least another 2 or 3 years for me to see if they bulk out physically and how they actually mature. Yeah,
I think what it is, it's a good point that, because at the end of the day, you look at what Dan Ashworth's been saying about everyone working together and everything, and they've got a strategy and a vision ahead. It's how they deal with this young kid. This is the thing, has this kid expecting to walk to Manchester United to be given all the cash on the table now? So really, whether he's at United, signs a contract, I don't know whether it's a youth contract or anything like that, with the idea then to sign a professional contract later on down the line. It's really how the negotiations are. Is he here to negotiate a big contract straight away? And if that's the case, I think we'll just see him disappear somewhere else, because there is other clubs looking at him. So at the end of the day, there might be a disappointment for this kid if he doesn't play ball, because the strategy, signing players and looking after them, has changed.
Yeah, I remember us doing a video on Trackman, if you remember, United's database, what they use to actually go out and scout players. And I remember it saying that they wouldn't be really looking for players under the age of 15 years old unless it was exceptional circumstances.
No, that's true, yeah.
As well. So obviously he does fit into that mould with his age, etc. But if you do know more about him on Webby Martin, let us know in the chat below. Anything more to add, though?
No, just to confirm, we're waiting. I think it's tea time. The squad gets announced for the America tour, and then Manchester United fly out Wednesday afternoon. So I'm just waiting for news for that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, just like to thank everyone for joining us today, getting involved in the chat, been absolutely popping off, some great opinions in there. Please leave a like on the video as well to support us, or if you enjoyed it, and we'll be back tomorrow with another Manchester United chat, unless it's some big breaking news. Okay?
And we fixed the mics for now.
Yeah. Yeah, we fixed them for now. Thank you.
Thank you.